Hello, my name is Aoife Dean and this is the Happy Weight podcast. A bit of a new premises today. I was back to back with clients on Tuesday and Wednesday up in Cork. So I'm back down in Skibbereen today in the co-working space, giving it a shot at filming the podcast here. So hope you are well. Hope you had a beautiful, beautiful week. And today I want to talk about, I suppose, what changed for me when I was getting out of binge eating disorder, how I started looking at my food and my diet and my eating differently to finally heal, basically. And if you haven't done already, please like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Thanks so much. So I suppose the thing was with me, I started dieting at 11. And now I was around probably age 28, 29. And things were still not well. Like I didn't trust my body. I didn't trust my eating. I felt like I was walking on, what's it called? Like I was walking on like a thin wire. What's those things in the circus? A tightrope. I was walking on a tightrope. And I felt that like, even when I kind of had a handle on things, I felt that like anything could shift any moment. And I could just like fall into fatness oblivion and like, you know, like I suppose it was catastrophe thinking, like my weight could just explode, my eating could explode at any minute. So even in the good times, it felt like I was kind of clinging on for dear life. So it wasn't really good. And then I suppose, you know, we'd done a bit of nutrition in primary school. We'd done nutrition in home ec for all of secondary school. Then I went and got a 4-year degree in nutrition and dietetics. And then I had been exposed to the diet community. You know, I used to get a lot of email newsletters. I used to read a lot of magazine bullshit on diet and whatever. So I didn't realize at the time, but that's actually a sign that someone's probably messed up with eating. And it's probably a sign they're not going to have a healthy weight, being over-informed. A little bit of a side note, but generally when I get inquiries, people tell me, you know, I could write a diet book. I know what to do. It's just to do it. And I'm like, that exact sentence is how I know you've got eating and weight issues, because people who are free living, just, you know, they know their own relationship with food. They know their own body. They wouldn't dream of saying that's the right thing to eat and that's the wrong thing to eat. And this is what you should eat at meals and all the rest of it. Like, that's really rigid and disordered. And yeah, stop clock is right twice a day. So sometimes that advice would work for a human being, but it's really unlikely that there is one right. So, but I suppose I had gone hook, line and sinker into that kind of mentality, and that kind of mentality where you're over-informed, you're consuming a lot of diet information, a lot of advice, a lot of like external advice and what other people are eating and everything. All it does is make you feel terrible, because you're like, okay, that should be a good breakfast, so why haven't I satisfied? And that should be a good dinner, so why am I binging all evening? And you just keep comparing yourself to this outside advice. And, you know, it makes your eating worse, because then you get to a hopeless place where you're like, sure, what the feck, I can't do anything anyway, so I might as well eat everything, and kind of go into the territory of no responsibility, basically. So for me, I suppose it was definitely to do with personal development. And, you know, when I completed my master's in nutritional medicine there a few years ago, I did my dissertation in all the different methods of healing binge eating disorder and self-help and CBT. And it's actually all the psychological stuff that is known to get the best results with binge eating. And then I was like, okay, cool. That makes total sense to me, because I did my 4-year nutrition degree and I still was binge eating, and I was working as a dietitian with clients all day and I was still binge eating. Like, the company I worked for were in these serviced offices, and like there was a shared like communal kind of kitchen, and sure, the sweets kept going missing. Like, the chocolate bars would be restocked and they'd be empty, restocked and empty. And my boss was blaming this accountant down the hall, and sure, it was me. I was binge eating them every evening once everyone had gone home. So, you know, yeah, like I said, the degree and working in it every day didn't really actually help me whatsoever. So the personal development, you know, first of all, you're listening to a lot of very successful people who have got amazing results in many, many areas of their life. And I was in my job mainlining all these YouTube videos all day with like Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Gabby Bernstein, all these like Hay House authors. And like I could see I just basically had a real, suppose you'd say, loser mindset if you're not succeeding, if you're not getting the results that you want. I had a real negative. It was very easy to be down on myself. It was very easy to be critical of myself. So like all the stuff that was the norm in my head was not matching up to success. And at the time I was very motivated in that job. I just wanted to like climb the ladder. That's just London for you as well. I think everyone just wants to be such a big success. So I was kind of listening to all of that stuff nearly more for my career success in that job rather than my eating and weight. However, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So because I was listening to those guys all the time and how they talked to themselves and how they went around their life and what that was producing, like, and it's the same what I suppose I was put on a course by another company before this one, neuro-linguistic programming with Richard Brandler, NLP, and that really opened my mind to personal development. And then, of course, like lots of people, I saw the movie The Secret, became obsessed with the audiobook, used to listen to it on the underground every morning going to work. And that really, really changed things for me as well. And one of the big things in The Secret is gratitude. And I could see that I was really not a grateful person. Like I was in my 20s, like I had a lot of health compared to a lot of people. And all I could do was feel like I'm the most unluckiest person in the world with my body and my weight. So again, I could see how kind of nasty my mindset was compared to all these personal development people. So I suppose with the confidence that that gave me, I started thinking that maybe all the diet advice that was out there, all the stuff that I had been consuming since I started dieting at 11, you know, maybe it does work for other people. Like maybe it does, maybe it gets results. But in another way, maybe there's never been another Aoife Dean. There's never been another me with my exact brain, my exact emotions, my exact body composition, my exact genetics. So maybe I'm a bit different. Maybe I'll stop trying to follow the crowd and maybe I'll go rogue and figure myself out and start doing a trial and error thing of how I can become more of a normal eater. Because I suppose I was kind of clear on my future. The thought of dieting all my life, I just would rather be overweight. There's no doubt about that. Like as in just going to stuff and being restricted and controlled. And sure, like I couldn't. That's the whole thing. Like I didn't have a blip of willpower, and any bit I had was really, really gone. I'd say at this point I was burnt out on willpower, and I just kind of couldn't stop binging and stuff like that. So I was like, that is not the future I want to create. And so I suppose with the personal development stuff as well, it was like, be clear on the future, be clear on what the future you looks like, be clear on a day in the life of future you. And so how that relates to eating and weight is in the future, how would you like to eat out with friends? In the future, how would you like to feel on a Saturday night? In the future, how would you like to imagine you treating yourself with food in a nice way if you've had a really stressed, busy week? You know, but what can you imagine as a good relationship with food, even in a bad mood? And again, that's not binge eating, and it's certainly not restricting and dieting. So I suppose I was visualizing the in-between. And lucky for me, there was a lot of people like that, you know, in my life. There was a lot of people I was friends with, and they did go out to restaurants and eat what they wanted, and they didn't seem to have guilt, obsession, overthinking, all the rest of it. So like, I think even if there's one person in your life that seems to be cool enough and calm enough about food, well then you know it's possible. And if you really have a think about it, like whose life do you want? And now I suppose with the injection, that adds another layer of whose life do you want? Do you know, the being on the injection or whatever might come from that, or, you know, continuing to overeat or continuing to go on programs where you cut out everything for a while and then you eat in an uncontrolled way. Like, again, I just don't think it's about your weight. It's about how your life feels. And it feels really crap when we're out of control with food. It feels really crap when like the food in a filling station has control over us, or the food in the press is like calling to us when we're watching TV. Like that's a very powerless place to be in. Now I'm saying it, it's like, oh God, I'm bringing back the emotions for myself. But yeah, so it's actually about not the weight, it's about the life we want to create with food. So there was that side of it, and then there was also the thinking about like my issue is overeating. My issue is that I can overfeed my body and my body can have excess weight. So then it was like, again, let's go rogue from all the information out there, because all the information is all the same. It's all like cut out processed foods, cut out sugar, cut out alcohol, cut out whatever. And I wasn't really in a place where I could do that. And like, it was like banging my head against a wall, just being like, you know, don't you go to work tomorrow and binge eat after everyone goes home? Don't you finish all the chocolate at work? Like, it kept happening. Like, telling myself don't do it wasn't really working. It was just making me feel worse and worse. And again, what I knew from all the personal development stuff that I was listening to is feeling worse is not you moving closer to your goal, ever. And what I kind of figured out around that time as well is that feeling physically bad is not you moving to your happy ever after with your body. So again, whether I was restricting foods and not allowing myself have those ones, or whether I was overeating, whatever things I was doing that was weird with food or exercise, that the result was my body did not feel nice. I couldn't pretend that that was moving me closer to a happy ever after. Whereas I think you can kind of delude yourself when you're in disordered eating and the diet mindset. You can delude yourself that, you know, it doesn't matter how gross I feel tonight on overeating, because tomorrow I'll start a diet. And then when you're feeling crap on a diet, you're like, this is all, this is all par for course. This is what I have to do to become a healthy body weight. And, you know, again, that just stopped making sense to me. It was actually like with everything, with my eating, with my body, it's like, hey, let's start as you mean to go on. And I was chatting to a client yesterday about this, that if the future you, if your real dream is that you would be cool as a breeze, eating pastries on a Saturday morning, or eating pastries in France or Italy, or when you feel like pastries, that wouldn't be like a high octane situation with guilt and pressure and willpower or whatever, that you could just be a normal person where you have some croissants, and that doesn't mean overeating, doesn't mean spiraling, doesn't mean binging, doesn't mean overeating. Did I say that one? Maybe I did. But it doesn't have to mean an uncomfortable stomach. It doesn't have to mean a bad day where you come out of it feeling gross. It doesn't have to mean any of those things. Like, what would it be like for someone with a great relationship to have a pastry? So if that's the future us that we're becoming, geez, we'd want to get started. We'd want to get started. If like the us in a year's time, if she's going to be cool as a breeze with croissants, we'd want to start getting in the practice. And so like, obviously that's so different from dieting. So that's one thing I became clear about. It's like, I can't run from the foods I love anymore. I can't run from the foods that are always reintroduced in my week anyways, even if not by me, by friends or family or work dues or whatever. These foods are going to come back in my week. And if I am going to be a healthy weight, I will have to be able to use these foods. There's no other way around it. I can't, like, you could not reach a stable weight if every time these yummy foods come out, you're all or nothing. Like, there's no way that could lead to a stable weight. So I suppose I started seeing yummy foods as practice. Let's start putting notches on the belt of, like, I ate chocolate and I was normal before, during, and after. I was present. I enjoyed it like a slim person. I was eating it because it tasted good. I was eating it because it felt good. And it'd be super missing the point if I was eating it, giving out to myself, because then the poor taste is missed and lost and not even noticed. And it would totally miss the point if once my belly was feeling nice, I started jamming more of it in so that my belly would feel not nice. Like, that doesn't make sense. And I suppose that's another thing that personal development taught me. Like, I was doing a lot of weird eating. I was doing a lot of binging, and I was doing a lot of overeating at night. There was most nights I went to bed over full. And I always justified that, because I always justified that, yeah, I'm going to be good tomorrow. And, this is part and parcel of me trying to get better, is like, yeah, there's going to be a good day coming up. And I just kind of, I suppose, could get a snapshot of that and just, again, compare it to all the personal development people I listen to. And it's like, it doesn't matter about your weight in 2 weeks' time. Someone who liked themselves would not think that they deserve to go to bed physically uncomfortable night after night. Like, they just wouldn't. Like, there's no end justifies the means. There's no like, yeah, but I'm doing this because. It's like, no. You actively, even though you live in a developed country where there's loads and loads of food, there's loads and loads of cheap food, there's actually nearly more processed foods, more chocolate, more potatoes, more all the processed stuff, all the fried foods, then fruit and veg. Like, you're eating it like it's going away. You're eating it like you're not allowed to eat it. You're eating it like you shouldn't be eating it, and you're doing something naughty and shameful. Like, it's weird. It's a weird way to treat yourself. So I suppose that became clear to me as well, that like, actually you have a responsibility for how you walk around your life. You have a responsibility for how you hold yourself and who you're being and how you respect yourself and how you treat yourself. And when you're kind of looking at it like that, absolutely stuffing your face and saying, this is all par for course, or yeah, I'm fat anyways, I'll never lose weight. It's like, this isn't about weight. This is about the fact that you're actively hurting yourself, right now, So I suppose that was a new mindset I had. And like I said, all the information out there is cut the obvious stuff. And I was like, well, I've tried that and I can't. So why not like cut out the lowest hanging fruit? And I was talking to a client about this yesterday. He's made a lot of little changes, and his next step is the next lowest hanging fruit. What's the next little thing that he would be A-okay to not eat? If it was in front of him or if it was part of a meal, what would be the part that like, it wouldn't put him up or down if he didn't eat it? Like, as in, it wouldn't be a less enjoyable day. It wouldn't be a less enjoyable meal. His belly wouldn't feel less nice if he just didn't have this. So it's like, we want to be looking at it like that. And then equally with how our body feels or exercise, like, what's like an exercise that genuinely wouldn't feel like penance? Like, it wouldn't feel like any kind of punishment or hardship, because that's an important point, right? Some people say they want to lose weight, but their idea of letting go of weight is awful. It's willpower, discipline, being left out, excluding yourself, being highly organized, maybe all these things that, for me anyway, I just actually can't do. So then we're putting an awful name on, being healthy. And then it's like, that's really tarnishing the happy future memories that we will need to pull us forward through this part, through all the changes and all the obstacles. So the happy memories have to be like, the happy future memories, have to be good ones. Like, it can't be us pounding the roads, going for walks we don't want to go on. So again, start as you mean to go on. If cool, calm, collected you that's in a lovely place just loves to do nice things for her body, if she wouldn't be doing it, if it seems like punishment or penance to her, well, then don't you be doing it. So again, we have to be like, what's the thing that I'm happy enough to be doing that I think would make my body feel nice? And again, it's not all or nothing. It's not like starving my body of exercise or starving my muscles of exercise and starving my bone mass of exercise. And it's also not over exercising. So it's just being kind. It's being somewhere in the middle. So with that, there was actually tons of food I didn't rate that was in my diet. Like, I was thinking about this yesterday because I started with a new client. So I'd be explaining everything again to her. And I was just kind of like, when I look back on it, like at my heaviest weight, like I'd say my diet was 60% enjoyable, max, like 60%, which felt weird at the time because I was kind of like, if I was 3 stone overweight, I was like, God, you'd think I'd be having a rare old time. You'd think I'd be having the most delicious diet ever and I'd be having so much crack with food. But actually, the more overweight I was getting, the less crack I had with food, and actually just the more fillers and random shit that was going into my diet. And I suppose that was another thing that I started second guessing as well. Like, so much stuff is down to money and consumerism and stuff like that. But the whole diet industry is based on selling you stuff that you need to be a lighter weight. And so selling you foods and products that you need that are the missing link to why you haven't lost weight. And that is fundamentally really stupid. If we are overweight, we are well able to find calories for ourselves. In actual fact, we found way too many calories for ourselves. So we're not low on foods. We do not need to find more foods to introduce to ourselves. Whereas I think I would have been a little bit susceptible to, this is something that grows on a north-facing mountain of Peru that will help your weight loss or whatever, even though it tastes disgusting. I would have been open to eating shit like that. So instead, I made it super basic. Again, I was like, I have excess weight to use up and all calories are equal. All calories are equal. So what are the Ifadine calories? What are the foods that are important in my life, in my world, with my people, in my body? And what are the ones that are honestly not? Because again, all calories are calories. And to lose weight, there isn't one 3,500 calorie decision you can make or let go of. Like actually how we let go of weight is, first of all, of course, it's a gradual process of the mind and our behaviors or whatever. And on our body, it's just a side effect of all those changes with our behaviors and our mind. But it is kind of stuff like, actually, this potato isn't that nice, I'm going to leave the rest of it. Or actually, sure, I don't need a snack. I'd rather be really hungry for my lunch in half an hour's time. So we're just letting go 50 calories here, 100 calories here, nothing shocking and like nothing that would make our day less nice. Like our day is still maximum nice. We're just letting go of the stuff that doesn't make it better anyways. And that actually is enough to let go of the weight over time. And so I suppose that removed all the diet foods. And even because I was getting out of the cheat day mentality, I was getting out of the, like, once you get rid of tomorrow I'll be good, you're then getting rid of, so today I can be bad. So I suppose that was another thing that this is really important actually, when you can start being really nice to yourself, you can start being accountable. Whereas I notice with my clients, sometimes because they're always horrible to themselves, they don't know what accountability actually is, because they can just be like, sure, of course I should have eaten less. And of course I should have exercised more or whatever. And you're like, no, that's not accountability. That's just being mean to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when we're being really nice to ourselves all the time, we can just take accountability for stuff. Like we're just curious, we're learning, we're not judgmental, we're not harsh. Because like, that's another thing I said to myself. I was like, I am in this body for the rest of my life. I am with this brain for the rest of my life. Like, I will be figuring this out. I will be moving forward. There is no time limit. There is no urgency, but I know where I want to get to. So with that, I could be really kind of, I suppose, curious and honest with myself of like, oh, I ate that thing last night. And you know what? It didn't taste nice at any point. Or, do you know, I ate that thing last night. And I can fully remember my body or my belly being like, why did you eat that? That was too much. So like being really nice to myself meant that I could be kind of more mathematical rather than emotional about what allowed my body to change or the things that I was doing that was preventing it from changing. And I was saying that actually to a client today, that actually when you're changing your relationship with food, it's obviously, it's not going to be the same as a crash diet. It just isn't. If you are doing the work to get to a great place with all your fair foods, your bread, your crisps, your chocolate, your pizza, your meals out, your weekends away, whatever, if you're properly working on bringing them to a great place, it's not going to be the same results as a low carb diet. Like it isn't. But the great thing about that though is I think it increases accountability again, because I will never in my life again say that I am going to be good tomorrow, because that's easier said than done. And I will never again in my life say I can undo whatever eating I'm doing now next week, because I actually don't know that. I could be really emotional next week. I could be really hormonal. Work could be mad busy. Like I have no idea what's coming next week, but it is a lie to say that I can undo the eating that I will do today, next week. It is a lie. And even knowing that, I think honestly speeds up your weight loss, because then, like, and this is one of the changes I made too, if I was eating something, I was like, this is an easy thing to not eat, and also if I was overeating, I was kind of saying, don't say that this doesn't count. It fully counts. Like if you're really, really full and you're going to eat the next 3 of them, just own that. That's fine. Own it. Be really clear. You're actively maybe adding in 600 extra calories onto your body that you might not ever undo is the reality, but own that. If you're really emotional or whatever, let's just be aware of it, because again, a victim mentality will never ever work. If you, to the degree that you think that your body, it's unfair, or your weight loss is unfair, is to the degree you'll never lose weight. So we have to have full accountability in these moments, because we weren't fully aware of how much we were overeating, because we were in our head telling ourselves the story that none of this counts, I'll be good tomorrow. So like I said, I was getting rid of the good days and the bad days, and I was just being medium every day. Like how I was eating didn't play ball with a good day before, but I was being too responsible to binge as well. And oh my God, this episode is getting really long now. But I suppose one of the most critical things was, and again, I was saying this to a new client yesterday, she, like many of my clients and myself too, gained weight from what I call a sea of mediocre, that we're always picking and snacking. So we're not really respecting the need for our organs to take a rest, and the need for our organs to process fat and sugar, and that the time that takes. And then of course, the extra time it takes for very condensed or dense foods that we have nowadays, like meals out or alcohol or takeaways. So they'd be, highly dense food. So it'd just be kind of sound to give our body a little bit more digestive rest after we eat them. That was a thing I did not think about or consider when I was binge eater. But like I said with this client yesterday, it was just a sea of non-memorable food. A little bit like what I was saying about like everything was just 60%, So I fully changed that to this meal has to be super delicious. This meal has to be filling enough, delicious enough. Again, by my Aoife Dean terms, for my body, my mind, my situation, it has to be delicious enough that like I'll genuinely be satisfied and done when it's finished. And every meal had that job to do. And that might sound more complicated than it is, because I am genuinely, I would say, out of all my clients, the least organized, the worst with food shopping, the worst with cooking. Like I just don't have an interest and I don't have an attention span. So for that stuff. So like you don't need to be eating Michelin star, but again, it's just the consciousness of this is a food that I think is really yummy and would make my belly feel really nice in 20 minutes. So every meal did have a job. And I think when we're binge eating, it's a combination of we're trying to follow rules that someone else made. And with that, we're being careless. Like we don't actually care what the food tastes like. We don't actually care whether it was satisfying, delicious, memorable, made us happy, our belly felt nice after it. We don't care. We're just going through the motions. That's what my client yesterday said. She's like, you eat meals at certain times. They were easy to make. The kids will eat them too. But there wasn't any love. There wasn't any grow in her food. So now it's like we're going from careless to fully caring. And so it's like your meal has a job. And that might mean that like, okay, the leftovers are super boring. I knocked all the taste and enjoyment out of them the last 2 nights that I could. Someone else will eat them. I just want a toasted cheese sandwich and a yogurt and I don't know, whatever else, like is in whatever little mega mix will definitely make your belly happy. So now I use the phrase with clients that it's overeating prevention. So rather than before, I was coming at my diet with what should I eat? What am I allowed to eat? How can I keep under this level of calories? What's my fitness pal saying? What am I allowed to eat? And the other thing is, if you're looking at food through what are you allowed to eat, you spend your whole time justifying eating anything and finding reasons why you can eat anything, basically. So I went away from that and I went to the job of food is to make you feel satisfied and done. And this is what people without weight problems who don't obsess have always been doing. And the thing is that basically they might know their bodies well enough to be like, sure, I know that wouldn't satisfy me. I know I'd be in the cupboards all night if I ate that for my dinner. So they're not blaming themselves. They're blaming the food. They're just gonna pick something that is the right amount of food and calories and nutrients and taste so that their belly feels the way they want to. But as dieters, when we're vulnerable and we're unconfident, if we eat a dinner that we should be eating and it doesn't work, we blame ourselves. And if we're back in the cupboards eating more because the dinner wasn't enough, we're blaming ourselves. So that's all a little bit of a pity. And that's where our signals come in, because your taste buds are guiding you, and, food like taste aversion and nice tasting foods, that's guiding us with our nutrient intake, and then the feeling in our belly, how much it takes to get to cozy, happy belly full. For one dinner, it will be 600 calories. For another time of the day, another dinner will be 300 calories. So it's like, our job is just that cozy belly full. Our job is just that our taste buds are delighted. And our job is that by the time we're finished a meal, we genuinely are delighted, like genuinely. And even if that's high calories, even if that's high carb, high fat, yeah, that makes sense. I'm just back from France there the other week, and they know how to make their meals fatty and yummy and carby. And if someone was to bring along some like crisps or processed foods, it's like, that is so bleak compared to the richness that I just ate. So that's what we want to do. We want to put the richness and the enjoyment into our food and into our meals. So I hope today's episode helped. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Mwah.